But anyway, it's 5 o'clock where I am. I don't know what time it is where you are, but thank you for joining us. I always try to start on time, so we're going to cut right from the music into the introduction at this point. Hello and welcome. I see a lot of our old friends joining in and some new friends as well. This is Mara Walsh joining you as the host tonight. It seems to be a long time since our last virtual tour, so I'm excited to be back and hosting this virtual tour for you today. And even better to be here with an old friend who's done so many virtual tours for us over the past couple of years. Before we get started on our virtual tour presentation today, I have a few housekeeping items to go over. You know, this is a Zoom webinar format, which means that your video and your microphone are not on. So we cannot see you or hear you, but we are so happy that you joined with us. We can see your interaction through text and chat. So if you could please, you can use the chat to talk to me throughout the presentation, but those questions will not be addressed by the tour guide. You can use the Q&A feature on the bottom of the Zoom toolbar for any questions you would like the guide to answer at the end of the presentation. I'm going to share a little bit about myself with you. If you don't know me, my name is Mara Walsh. I am in the United States and specifically between Philadelphia and New York. This is Eastern time zone. I always mention that because my time zone, sometimes if it's advertised on Facebook or whatever, you might see that it's 5 p.m. or 7 p.m. Those are the two times we do our virtual tours. And that's in the Eastern time zone, which is also New York or Philadelphia. So you can use that as a gauge to translate the time into your own time zones. As you may know by now, when we are not traveling virtually, I host groups on physical tours, as well as I help others plan their own family vacations and their group vacations. My tours are mainly adult only and open to all women and men, and my summer tours are for all ages teens through seniors. If you want to follow our physical tours, please join my private Facebook group, which is Girl Travel Tours on Facebook. It is a group. You have to ask to be accepted, but you know, just mention that you were on one of my virtual tours and I'll be happy to let you join that group so that you can follow along. I have two groups going out in July, one to the Galapagos and another to Japan. So if you're interested in those destinations or just following along in general, please don't hesitate to go over to Facebook after this presentation and join us. As you may be aware, I started traveling with my tour guides friends virtually when COVID struck, and we were unable to travel physically. And these virtual tour presentations have helped many tour directors earn some much needed income over the course of the last 3 years and have kept the excitement of travel alive for so many. So they've served two purposes quite well. We've done more than 80 virtual tours, I think, at this point, and the recordings are all available on girltraveltours.com. They're indexed by region to make it easier for people to find them. They are also on my Facebook page and on the YouTube channel, Girl Travel Tours. We have a few virtual tours on the calendar for August, and I'm hoping to add a few more for the late fall and winter months. If people still want to attend and they're excited about experiencing these, we will do our best to continue to deliver them. If you want to be sure to get an email alert from me, just go on to Girl Travel Tours. There's a little newsletter box on the bottom left screen, or if you're on a mobile device, just scroll down until you see it and put your email and your phone number, your email and your contact information in there, and you'll be sure to be alerted. But if you join that Facebook group, you'll always be alerted of all of the things that are going on with us as well. Okay, let's get into it and review a few ways that you can interact with us. As I said, please use the Q&A toolbar for questions that you would like the guide to answer, and any chat information that comes through, I'll do my best to answer those after the introduction. As always, I want to include an interactive poll. I believe I've set one up. I didn't test it, but I'm hoping it's there. Okay, so let's tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your connection to Croatia? I've been and I love it. I have a trip booked. I plan to go in the future. I have no set plans, but I'm interested in the location, or I am solely interested in experiencing it virtually. I'll give you a second or two to get your votes in there, or at least answer the survey question, and then I will share them with the group. It looks like to me that there's a lot of people who have plans to go in the future. I'm in that camp as well. And then there are some people who have no plans, but are interested in the location. And interestingly enough, I always see that those things change as we go along in the presentation. After the presentation, it seems like more people are interested in and make plans to go. So if you do have an interest in Croatia and it's still on your list to get to, you can certainly join us next September. I am hosting a group to go to Croatia next year. So check out that tour if you're interested. So as you know, today's tour, or you may not know, but I'm going to let you know if you're new to us, today's tour and all of our tours are scheduled for 90 minutes plus a Q&A. So I hope you're ready for the presentation. And as you know, a tour would not be complete without a fantastic tour director. And today we have someone back who's done many virtual tours with us, Georgiana. Feel free to access the recordings of her other tours through the website. I know that she has done so many, and I don't even want to broach the subject of naming them all, but you can certainly put her name in the search on my website and they'll all come to the top as well. Today, Georgiana will lead us through Croatia, as I said. I'll share with you via the chat and during the Q&A how you can leave a tip for the tour director. If you appreciate this presentation and our guide's knowledge, all of the tips go directly to the guide minus the Zoom operating expenses. So today, I want to welcome my friend Georgiana to join us. Hello again and welcome back. Feel free to come and take the controls and share your screen and get rid of me. I will be in the background here. And just to full disclosure, I do have to head out to a Girl Scout event this evening. So I should be here when the tour goes to Q&A, but I may quickly have to leave while Georgiana is fielding the questions. So if you see me disappear, it's not a technical issue. It's it's because I needed to do that. So Georgiana, welcome.
Hi, Mara. Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's midnight where I'm from, so it's very good to see everyone. As Mara has pointed out, I have done quite a few virtual tours with her, and I'm super glad that she still does them and that we still find good subjects to present to you. For as long as you want to participate, I'm sure we'll find a way to do something. If for those of you that don't know me, I'm curious, do leave in chat if you've participated in my other virtual tours and if you've seen me before. But for those of you that don't know me and if this is your first time seeing me, my name is Georgiana. I'm actually a Romanian tour guide. I am from Romania, but I have traveled extensively all throughout Europe. And all of the destinations that I cover with Mara are normally destinations that I've been to, personally experienced, and do have knowledge in there. So this is the case with Croatia tonight. I am going to take you on a 2-week itinerary through lesser known Croatia. You see the first image is portrayed here. So I think Mara's question was very good in asking if you've ever been to Croatia or if you plan on going, because Croatia can be split in two directions, so to say. You have the super popular Croatia, you know, places like Dubrovnik, Split, Var, specifically for the Game of Thrones fans, those that have watched it. You know that's when Croatia actually became even more popular as a country. And we are going to cover the lesser known Croatia for the people that want to experience authentic Croatia. They want to keep away from the tourist hordes, that do not want to be overcharged for a meal, and to actually enjoy a peaceful boat ride or hike in nature and so on. So I will not be covering the popular destinations, and I wanted you to know from the beginning. Now, this sample itinerary, as I said, it's an alternative view on Croatia. We are going to This is technically, you can save it for later. I would say this is an ideal itinerary for a second visit to Croatia. We will be island hopping virtually, of course. We will be cruising the brilliant blue waters of the Adriatic. And of course, we'll stop for some fresh seafood, from some culinary tastings, and swim, let's say, swim in some of the most beautiful beaches in Europe. Now, I normally like to point out on the map where exactly we are tonight. So this is the map of Europe, and Croatia is this blue country that looks a little bit like a bow. Yeah, so it's sharing the Adriatic Sea with Italy. Let me share a closer view of Croatia. So this is Croatia, the country, which is split by political regions, like counties. And as you can see, it borders Serbia, Hungary, Slovenia, Austria, and Bosnia-Herzegovina, Montenegro to the south. It is part of former Yugoslavia. I know that some people still know this region as Yugoslavia. It split a long time ago, and Croatia, it's its own country, and it shares the Adriatic Sea, as I've mentioned, with Italy. Now, to put things even better into perspective, I am going to share a map of our itinerary tonight. So this is the Dalmatian coast. As you can see here, there's a lot of land. That's why I said that the itinerary that I'm going to present tonight is better for a second visit to Croatia. Well, normally Croatia is split into land Croatia and the Dalmatian coast. It's wildly different. It's like you are in two different countries. We're going to focus on the Dalmatian coast right here on all these islands. As I said, we will be island hopping. And this is our itinerary for tonight. We are going to start in Zadar. Then we are going to move down south to Trogir, which is another beautiful town of Croatia. Then we are moving on to the islands. First island is Vis Island. Then we are going down to Korčula Island and Miljet Island. And we are going to finish our itinerary next to Dubrovnik. As you can see, it's the town here. Dubrovnik, of course, everyone knows is the first city that comes to mind when we speak about this country. But we are not going to cover Dubrovnik tonight. We are going to cover something else located close to it. I'll give you an alternative if you want to stay in Dubrovnik, but do not want to feel like a sardine in a can, especially in the high season. So, as I said, we are going to go through a 2-week itinerary, which means I'm going to recommend how many nights I would spend in that location if I were you. So if we start in Zadar, we will start with 3 nights. Now, the Zadar region of Croatia has a truly amazing geographical position, as it is located in the center of East Adriatic, and it is surrounded by stunning nature. Of great variety. This is actually the oldest inhabited city in Croatia, and it's known for its Roman and Venetian ruins. You can see a little bit of the influence through this photo. Another thing that I did not mention, I do like to include videos, so I will be sharing lots of videos of all the towns that we are visiting tonight. The videos do have a little bit of music. I will speak over, like, while the video plays, I will tell you some details about that location, but if at any point you do not hear me properly, do leave a message in chat. So, first video is in Zadar. I do like these drone videos because it gives you an overview, specifically in these coastal cities and islands. The drone footage is always the best. It gives you the best perspective. Now, Zadar in Italian is actually called Zara, or in Latin, Zadar. It's a picturesque historical town, as I said. It is the former capital of Dalmatia, so the coastal region of Croatia. And it has a shockingly long history of more than 3,000 years. And much of its history is still on display around town. If you're walking around the old town of Zadar, it's like you're walking through time, from the Roman time all the way until the Middle Ages and into the more recent and more turbulent history of the 20th century. In Zadar, we find the oldest Gothic church in Dalmatia, the one that you're looking at, which is the Church and Monastery of St. Francis, which was built in 1221, so in the 13th century. Now, the old town itself dates back to the 9th century before Christ, when it was a Liburnian. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Liburnians. It's a people that were later on conquered by the Romans, and it became a Roman city in the 1st century before Christ. Now, when the Holy Roman Empire split, Zadar became the capital of the Byzantium Roman Empire, of Byzantium Dalmatia, so pretty much the Byzants of the East, and it retained the status until the Second World War. Now, to put it briefly, all throughout the islands of Croatia, because of course maritime locations are always sought after by great powers. After the Romans came the Slavs, then the Venetians, then the Turkish, the Ottoman Empire, then the Austrians with the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Italians, and lastly, the Germans. Actually, Zadar suffered quite badly after the break from the former Yugoslavia, because the city was shelled by Serbian forces between 1991 and 1993. It cut off the city from Zagreb and the surrounding region. And a lot, like more than 60% of the city was destroyed, and the city's safety remained quite precarious until the accords to actually end the Yugoslavian war in 1995. Now, as you can see, it's very interesting to see the difference in this video between the old town and the really picturesque historical cities, and in the historical houses, and in the background, you see the really tall communist buildings. Don't tell anyone, but I'll give you my perspective on Croatia. I think Croatia is like Romania and Greece had a baby because it's like on the land. If you've ever watched, if not, I do recommend you watching any of the Romanian virtual tours that I've done. I do cover a lot of about the country there. So if Romania is the land part of Croatia, and all the beautiful clear blue waters and islands and so on is Greece. So I think Greece and Romania, it's like Croatia is actually between Greece and Romania. So I'm waiting for your opinion to see if you agree with me, if you've been to both countries or not. Now, another thing that they say about Zadar is that it has the most beautiful sunset in the world. Now, of course, I'm sure you've heard that for other cities as well. For example, Santorini is another location that claims the same thing, but they say it is the most beautiful because a famous film director, Alfred Hitchcock, actually stated while he stayed in Zadar, he stated that the sunset here is the most beautiful in the world. And of course, you have to come and experience it by yourself. If you cannot, then you can always judge by this photo. But in my opinion, sunsets are super subjective, and they're beautiful everywhere. Another interesting aspect of Zadar that people visit it for, it's the sea organ. Now, this is an architectural sound art object. I will play this video, and I'll not speak for a little bit during the video so that you can actually hear what it is about. It's actually an experimental musical instrument which plays music by way of sea waves and tubes, which are located underneath the set of large marble steps. So you see the marble steps right here. There are tubes underneath it. And with the movement of the water, it creates some seemingly chaotic, random, but harmonic sounds. I think the sea has to be, yes.
I think you might have to share your screen with the sound so that we can hear it.
You don't hear any of the sound?
No, you could just reshare and hit this with sound button.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay. Share sound. Okay.
You can tell we don't do these every week anymore because we're a little rusty.
Yes, we are a little rusty, but okay, let's see. Can you hear it now?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. Sorry, you will have to watch a little bit from what I've already said in the beginning. But what I wanted to say is how this experimental musical instrument came to be is because after the Yugoslavian wars were finished, the reconstruction of Zadar, as I said, it was destroyed more than 60%. The reconstruction work was a little bit chaotic, and it was just a frantic reconstruction turned this seafront into an unbroken, monotonous concrete wall. So pretty much they just pour concrete to make it look uniform again, all the coastal side. So a local architect looking at that monotonous concrete wall that really was not appealing, thought about redesigning it, the city coast, and it was officially opened in 2005. This video does not give it 100% justice because it's full of people. It's normally full of people that are just hanging around to hear the sounds. Did my video break? Yeah, anyway, you got the idea. I think the video got completely blocked at one point, so I'm not sure where it stopped, but I'm going to move past it because I think you got the idea. It's just the waves of the water making the sound while hitting these underground pipes. Another thing that I would like to share about Zadar is something that you might not know. Every one of you has heard of the maraschino, if we were to speak it like Italians, or maraschino, like the Croatian, the maraschino liquor. This clear cherry flavored liquor actually dates back to the 16th century when it was first made by Dominican monks in Zadar. It is produced from the fruits of the marasca cherries, the ones that I'm showing here, which gives the maraschino its unique, intense aroma and a little bit of bitterness. Now, the commercial production has actually has started in the 18th century, while Dalmatia was actually still under the Venetian Republic, which is why now, of course, Italy claims it is mostly produced in other regions and countries, namely in Italy. So there's that. I mean, people do claim it as their own, but just so you know, it has started here in Zadar. And from Zadar, so as I said, I would recommend spending 3 nights because the first night you just arrive, you go about the town, you enjoy a walking tour and enjoy a little bit about the city. And the next days you can actually do day trips. Zadar is a perfect location because it's in the central Dalmatia and is very close to all the national parks or the close to the mountains. I recommend a day trip to the Velebit National Park. It covers more than 100 square kilometers in the northern section of the Velebit Mountains, which is the largest mountain range in Croatia. And which is also known for the beech forests that are part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now, these are part of the ancient and primeval beech forest of the Carpathians and other regions of Europe. We have some of them in Romania too. This whole eastern area of Europe actually has these types of forests that are still protected, that are still very well preserved and protected under the UNESCO seal. And they are a testimony of the ecological history of the forest dynamics in Europe here. Since the last ice age. The most popular excursion that you can do in the Velebit National Park is to take a Jeep safari tour. This is great because only with a Jeep you can reach the deep canyons that are going along the river inside the mountain range. And actually the picture that I'm showing you right now, it's a part of the movie. It's a movie set from the movie Vineyards. So if you've watched it, next time you watch it, or if you remember it, then you can go back and see if you recognize this image. Of course, the Jeep safaris will not be complete without an actual lunch break and just enjoying a little bit of time and a little bit of nature. Now, on the other side, if you want to be on the water and not in a national park, you can go ahead and visit the Kornati Islands National Park. And that's the beauty of Croatia, because at any point you can either be on the water and the next day you can be very high up in the mountains. And that's the biggest and most important advantage, I would say, because you have these crystal clear blue waters. Just so you understand where the Kornati Islands are, this is Zadar right here. It's here. And these are all the Kornati Islands. So it's not a long day trip, a really short one, and you can enjoy a beautiful speedboat tour. Normally they go with private tours because they use dinghy boats, like rubber boats, not very big boats, not the yacht types. So even if you're two people, it's very easy to rent. And just getting to the Kornati Islands is memorable enough on its own. You will enjoy, like if you're going on a speedboat tour, you will enjoy a scenic ride through the channel. You can see a lot of the beauties of the archipelago. This is another drone video, so that you get an idea of what you might experience on the boat tour. I know I showed you on the map where exactly the Kornati Islands are. I don't know. I know it's not obvious, but there are actually 109 islands in this national park. And this whole coastal side is absolutely incredible. They almost look like the Norwegian fjords, but only that it's much warmer here. I said that there are 109 islands, but of course, these islands are not very big. They're small and mostly uninhabited islands. There are no permanent settlers in these islands, it's only seasonal ones. And if you look at how the geographical area looks like, only 5% of this whole land has ever been cultivated, because it's mostly, the ground is mostly stony. So it's actually much, much better to just enjoy it on the water, go on a boat tour. You can swim at your own leisure. The beaches are not sandy beaches. There'll be rocky beaches, but you know, that makes for very, very clear water, which is lovely to swim in. So typically a boat tour, you could do like a half day. It really depends on your stamina, on how long you want to be on the water and how much you want to see. You can even go on a fishing trip, but mostly it's swimming trips and sightseeing of around the islands. During an 8-hour, if you go for a full day tour boat trip, during those 8 hours, you're probably going to spend some time at the anchor, maybe enjoy a meal, maybe enjoy just snorkeling. So mostly related water activities. Okay, from Zadar, after we've spent the third night in there, we are going to make our way to Trogir. Now to Trogir, we are actually going to arrive there by private transfer. And that's important because to reach other Croatian places, you can only go by ferry. But Trogir is one that you need to reach by car. Now, this is a UNESCO World Heritage town. Again, we are traveling down from Zadar all the way down to Trogir. And in here, there are several opportunities for stops along the way if you are renting a car. But you can also do like a private transfer with a guided tour. That's also an opportunity. Next to Sibenic is actually a very, very nice national park. It's called Krka Waterfalls National Park. But I have not included this time because it's one of the more known, more popular stops in Croatia. So we are going to arrive in Trogir, which is very, very close to Split. Now, if you're staying in Split, a very popular day trip is to go into Trogir. And I'm going to share a video because technically Trogir is an island that's connected to the mainland through bridges. history, culture, and architecture all come together in this in the oldest part of Trogir, which is the one we're looking at right now, with an island that is encompassed by city walls. The history of Trogir stretches back 2,300 years, so just a little bit of the 3,000 years of Zadar, history of Zadar. But there is something ancient everywhere you look. You'll see traces of the Romans, of the Greeks, of Venetian art, of course, all of their designs everywhere. And what's important is that most of it is very, very well preserved. It's very beautiful to walk around the narrow cobblestone stone, narrow alleyways, quaint streets, and everything in Trogir is charming. And of course, this city combines the charm of the beaches, of the lush green hills that you see in the background, and then you have a perfect destination. Like you have history, you have greenery, and you have the crystal blue waters. It's perfect. Another thing that's perfect about Trogir are all the wineries located outside of it, so you can go for wine tasting. But this time, I decided to speak a little bit about the local cuisine and the food here because Croatia is a very good wine destination. They are known for white wines, but also red wines, depending on the region that you're in. But with focus on the local cuisine, you'll see that while in Croatia, you'll have plenty of seafood. Something that I did not include are all the award-winning olive oils, fresh cheeses, cured meats, olive tapenades, and just great local wines. Those are everywhere. So Croatia is an olive oil producing country, and they do have really great olive oil. So I do, in my opinion, it's one of the best, really. And I've tried them all, like Greek, Italian. Now I don't want to get on anyone's bad side. All of these countries produce really, really good olive oil. But I've noticed that Croatia has a way of elevating the art of olive oil to a more luxurious state. I don't know. That was my experience. Now, if you want to taste the real authentic Dalmatian food, then this region is where you should go. But also in other locations, all across Dalmatia, you will be able to find the dishes that I'm including right now. Another thing is that if you try to eat in a household, these are very common for tourists to actually try to enjoy either a cooking class or to eat at a farm. You'll know that they are made from fresh, organic, and always local ingredients. Now, the first one that I'm going to start with is actually called a pasticada with gnocchi. This is called the queen of the Dalmatian cuisine. Pasticada is perhaps one of the most popular Dalmatian foods. Every house, every family has its own recipe for pasticada. And as you can see, it's a very simple dish, but a delicious one. And, you know, as it happens always with simple dishes, it's simple ingredients, but the taste can be so different depending on how you cook it. And that's because this is baby beef fillet, marinated in wine vinegar for days, then it's braised for hours, first in its own juice and later in red wine, and then it's served with homemade gnocchi. So that's why it's much harder to have very good pasticada in a restaurant, because they don't take the time to actually let the meat cure for that long. It's always much better if you try to have it in someone's home, or if you have any Croatian friends, or if you have any Croatian family, do tell them to make this for you. The second one is peka, baking meat, seafood, and veggies under a bell-like lid. So just imagine a lid in the shape of a bell on top of the pan that you're seeing. This covering method is the cooking method as well. The peka is not only found in Croatia, it's also found in the neighboring countries from former Yugoslavia, like Bosnia, Montenegro, Serbia. And it doesn't matter, like it could be all sorts of meats, all sorts of seafood. There's no set recipe for it. It's just the cooking method that gives it the name. The third one is not necessarily the most appealing looking food that you have ever seen. It's called brudet. It's a classic dish, and it's typical for coastal Croatia, of course, because it's mostly made out of seafood. It's a fish stew. It is similar to the pasticada. No, similar to the pasticada is actually one of the more common dishes that you will find anywhere in Croatia. Every family has its own way of making brudet, and you can just mix various types of fish, crustaceans, stewed with onions, with tomato sauce, a drop of vinegar, and some spices. Now you cover everything in water, you cook it on low fire until the fish is done. Of course, you can add laurel leaves, you can add chili, whatever to taste. And you usually serve it with polenta. Now, do let me know in the comments if you know what polenta is. And I will tell you if it's the Eastern European recipe for polenta at the end. What we call polenta, because I know it's different. Then we have another variation of fish stew, simpler this time, which is called gregada. It's served with potatoes. This is said to be the oldest way of preparing fish in Dalmatia, and it was probably brought here into the area by the Greeks more than 2,000 years ago. Although potatoes are definitely not from 2,000 years ago, they are a local modification because they were introduced much later. Traditionally, the fish is made by layering together thinly sliced potatoes, onions, which are then drizzled with olive oil, of course, topped with smaller white saltwater fish, and then it's cooked in just enough water and white wine to cover the fish. Usually you add parsley, you can add celery, you can add garlic. Modern recipe versions include capers, anchovies, and so on. It's a staple food among the fishermen, which of course are a lot, especially in coastal Dalmatia. But this specific recipe is said to come from the island of Hvar, which is in the center. Also in the center. When I'll share the map later on, I'll also point out Hvar. Hvar is also a very popular island in Croatia, so I'm sure you must have heard of it. Or if not, it's the party island. And last but not least, I'll stop with something sweet, which is ravioli. They are shortbread cookies, which are flavorful, filled with an almond filling, but it doesn't always have to be almond. It could also be walnuts. It really depends on the recipe of the family. This is enjoyed. It's a staple food for every important event. Like if you have a baptism, if you have a wedding, if you have a funeral, you serve this cake. Although we do not know the exact origin of these treats, there are many legends and stories explaining how this half-moon shaped cookies came to be. One of the stories is, of course, a story of love. They say that in Trogir there lived this lady Raffioli. Her last name was Raffioli, and she was waiting for her lover. And while she was waiting for her lover, she started baking these treats, which she gave to him upon his return. So that's the very short version of this story and how they came to be. Of course, as I said, every Dalmatian family have their own variation. It's actually a recipe passed down from generation to generation, and they are not very sugary. It doesn't have a lot of sugar. It's mostly butter and vanilla, citrus zest, and of course flour, but not a lot of sugar. So it's also on the healthier side. And while also from Trogir, you can go and visit Klis Fortress. Now, you don't need a separate day to visit this because Klis Fortress is very close to Trogir. It is situated above a village bearing the same name, the village of Klis. It's actually a very small stronghold built by the ancient Illyrian tribe. This is the ancient people, so to say, of Croatian. It became a royal castle, which was the seat of many Croatian kings later on. And finally, it was used by the Ottoman, it was used as a large fortress against the Ottoman Empire when they, in the 15th century. Now, Klis Fortress was the one that guarded the frontier. It, managed to survive many times. It was conquered several times as well throughout this more than 2,000-year-old history. and today is mostly known for being part of the Game of Thrones series. It is Marine. So if you've watched Game of Thrones, do let me know if you've heard of this city in Game of Thrones. Marine is where Daenerys Targaryen arrived with, and I think that's where she found her dragons. I don't know. I've watched Game of Thrones a long time ago, but it is the fortress in Game of Thrones, and it's actually a destination, touristic destination for people that are traveling to Croatia specifically to visit Game of Thrones, because as you know, a lot of filming locations are in Croatia. From Trogir, we are going to travel down to Vis Island. Now, I really like this photo because it gives you such an impressive viewpoint of also the island and the mountains behind it. This island is a very beautiful island. It was once a military stronghold. It has fortifications that are now one of the main attractions of the place, besides the incredible natural scenery, of course. People visit Vis for the incredible olive groves, for the vineyards, for the sea caves, and it is a pristine place which locals call the Mediterranean that once was. Because it used to be a military stronghold and it's a little bit shrouded in this aura of mystery, the island of Vis didn't see the same development as all the other Croatian islands, and that's the main attraction point today because it kept its authenticity. And I will share with you a video and you'll see what I mean. This is the furthest island from the coast, and it did serve as a Yugoslavian military base, which was completely cut off from foreign visitors from the 1950s until 1989. So technically it's an open island only for the last 33 years. This isolation also preserved the island, as I said, from development, drove much of the population completely elsewhere, leaving it underpopulated for many years. And, at the same time, that also means that nature was also very well protected. International foreigners now do flock to Vis to seek gourmet delicacy, to seek authenticity, and most importantly, peace and quiet. And if you've watched Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, the movie that came out in 2018, this is where it was filmed, on this island. I would say it's most serene. It's, as I said, the furthest away from the coast, where you feel like you are far away in the middle of nowhere and you're just enjoying and relaxing. It's the perfect place to just sip Croatian wine and enjoy the water and enjoy the day. Now, I told you that Vis is a more enigmatic island. But a very popular day stop from Vis. As I said, you could spend 2 nights. The first night to just enjoy, second night to actually do a boat trip to Blue Cave. Now, Blue Cave is not part of the lesser known Croatia's destinations, but most of the people that come to Croatia do want to see the Blue Cave. Now, this coastal cave, it's a very famous natural site because of its clear blue color. So once you step inside the cave, if you go there between 11 a.m. and noon, when the sun rays pass through the underwater, as you can see here, you experience this unearthly blue light. It's not something that you would expect to find inside the cave. It's translucent water, rocks glimmer. You can actually see some shades of pink to the depth of the 16 meters that it has. The quickest way to go there and to see it is through a boat tour. However, the downside of over-tourism, the huge increase in visitor numbers over the recent years, has made the experience much less pleasant, and it's no longer possible to actually go there and linger and enjoy and go swimming into the water. Even if now they charge a very hefty admission charge, the line of boats to get inside can be discouragingly long. I mean, you go there and you have to wait in line for an hour, 2 hours just to go inside the cave. Once you're inside, you'll do a loop, 5 minutes, and you're out. So it's quite disappointing when you go for a boat ride. Maybe you ride for a couple of hours to actually get there and you wait in line. So it's a long time to spend just to go inside and not actually enjoy. And the downside is also that it's not possible really to visit it in winter. It's not crowded during winter, but it's also difficult to find a boat that will take you there because the water can be very choppy. It can make entering the cave really dangerous due to the southern wind. So of course, everyone flocks to see it when the time is good during summertime. My personal recommendation is to think twice. I mean, Croatia does have a lot of very beautiful caves. Of course, I know the appeal of that stunningly blue color. It's something that you have to see, you have to experience, but pack up a lot of patience. So after you spend the second night in Vis, it's time to make your way to my favorite island, which is Korčula, where we can also spend 2 nights. The Korčula island is larger, so you can actually go for 4 nights as well. It really depends on your interests. It is one of the best preserved medieval towns in the Mediterranean as well, but it is also known for its wines. So it really depends on your interest. If you want to just enjoy, relax, and enjoy cuisine a little bit more, go for 3-4 nights. Otherwise, 2 nights are more than enough. However, I was mentioning earlier, Korčula is one of the places in Croatia which is only accessible by ferry, or of course by boat if you want a private boat. But passenger-only ferries come from Dubrovnik, from Hvar, or from Miljet Island only, in Split. But of course, you have to take that into consideration when traveling the ferry transportation. I have a video for you here, and I will tell you a little bit about this amazing. You can see the fortified walls all around it. It's beautifully, beautifully preserved. It was the Greeks that actually colonized Korčula in the 4th century. It was, of course, subsequently occupied by the Romans. The Goths came, the Slavs, the Byzantines, the Genovese this time, not the Venetians. The kings of Hungary and Croatia and the Bosnian dukes also resided here, and other powers such as Russians, France, Britain, Austro-Hungarian empires have held the island. So many culture, many influences. And if you look at the town and if you walk around, this is an almost perfectly preserved 16th century Venetian town with some Baroque influence. So it is absolutely stunning to just walk around. And I will tell you a fun fact. You've seen the earlier cruise ship. There are cruise ships, European cruise ships that do include Korčula on their itinerary. But I will tell you why I prefer Korčula to Vis, for example. So while Vis Island, the one that we talked about earlier, has the best vibe just to chill out, Korčula, I think, is best suited for people who have been to who are coming to Croatia for first timers, because Vis, I would put it for second timers. So if you're coming for the first time in Croatia, definitely add Korčula on your itinerary, as you can do lots of interesting things. You have a lot of cultural background here. You have very good food. You have very good wine experiences. Some of the best out of all the Croatian islands, I would say. And Croatia is also home to 2 very big attractions. That's the St. Mark's Cathedral. It is built in Gothic Renaissance style, built in the 15th century. And the second most important is a home to Marco Polo's house. Now, it is said that Marco Polo came from Korčula. Okay, this is not a historically accurate fact in its entirety. Like, we cannot 100% say, yes, Marco Polo is from Korčula, because the Italians have a claim on that too. So it's a debate on which we're not going to get into. But just so you know, you can say that you have seen the potential house of Marco Polo with a tower which boasts sea views. So very impressive. And probably the most impressive thing and the most unique activity to experience in Korčula during season, because it can only be experienced during summertime, is Moreska. The Moreska sword dance. I have a video for you. It's a combat dance which is performed by knights with swords. Yes, this is a beautiful video. It's their proudest tradition, one of Adriatic's most unusual customs. At one time, these sword dances were actually very prevalent in Southern Europe. It probably began in Spain. Of course, you know, the Moorish occupation. It was pretty much like a protest against the Moorish occupation in Spain. And then it migrated down to Korčula in the 15th century. Essentially, this is a danced version of a sword battle and tells the story of an abducted princess. The story always begins with a speech by the princess who declares her love for the White King, which is dressed in red for the dance. Unfortunately for her, the Black King is in love with her and has her stolen away from the White King. Of course, the colorful spectacle progresses. The armies of the White King in red and the Black King draw swords, they fight for the princess, and the fighting dance, it's intricate, it's beautiful. It is staged to represent a real battle, and of course it terminates with the restoration of the princess to her one true love.
Only in Korčula you can see sword dance Moreska.
Yeah, so it's only here in this island, on this island, that you can experience this sword dance. It is their unique tradition and something not to be missed, because they do take it very seriously and they put on a very, very good show. Okay. Now that we are leaving Korčula, we're going to leave Korčula behind. We're going to take the ferry, the virtual ferry, down to Miljet Island. And this is the greenest island in Croatia. It has a lot of Mediterranean vegetation, clear and clean sea, very gentle sandy shorelines, and very healthy underwater sea life. Now we are back to our map, because I wanted to point out where we've traveled, right? So we went to Trogir, then we went down to Vis, which is the furthest island from the coast. Then Korčula, which is, you can see, it's quite a big island. That's why I said you can easily spend 3-4 nights in there exploring the island by yourself. And we are now currently in Miljet Island. As you can see, it's mostly green. That's why it's called the greenest island in Croatia. Now I will play you a video. This has long been one of the country's most alluring islands. It's an escape. If you want to witness unspoiled nature, surprising history, very rustic villages, picturesque beaches, and you know, it's just an air of tranquility that is very rare to find nowadays along the coast, along the Dalmatian coast. However, Miljet Island is not on the touristic path, which makes it the perfect off-the-beaten-path destination. It only shares the charms and the beauty with very select few that ventures to come to its shores. It is located in the southern Dalmatia. You saw it's between Korčula and Dubrovnik, and it kind of gets lost in between because people will prioritize more popular, more known destinations. So that's why it kind of gets looked past. It's called the Green Island due to the rich forests that you can see from the drone of Aleppo pine. Now it's called Aleppo pine because it actually was brought from Israel before the time of Christ, and the sap of the trees produce an aroma that is hypnotic, especially for first-time visitors. It is a perfume which scents the air across the island. And the main attraction on this island is its national park, which occupies most of the western part of the island. You'll find here, as I said, pristine nature, untouched, protected. And in the center of the island, what you're looking at right now are actually two cerulean saltwater lakes. One is called Veliko Jezero and one is called Malo Jezero. The translation is big lake and small lake. And in the middle of the island, you will find a very small Benedictine monastery, which dates back to the 12th century. Of course, olive grows everywhere, vineyards. This is the proper soil to grow olives and wine because it's mostly dry. And as you can see, it's quite a big island. But 2 nights are probably enough here because there's, as I said, it's mostly on the tranquil side, not a lot of activity. And if you're looking for that serene escape cut off from everyone else, yes, you could definitely choose Miljet as your destination. If you do not want to be in Dubrovnik or maybe on, you just want to go out on the water every day, this is the perfect destination. Now, an interesting fact about Miljet Island is that just off the coast, there are numerous shipwrecks and sunken Greek amphora, which hint to the island's history. Now, it is said that it's actually Miljet Island and not Malta. That is the island Melita, as it's called, on which St. Paul was actually shipwrecked. Again, a lot of people claim that it was Miljet Island and Gozo, which is off the coast of Malta, which was the mythical island of Ogygia, which is described in Homer's Odyssey. Now, if you haven't heard of this island, don't worry. It's Homer describes it as the island where Odysseus drifted after his shipwreck and where he came across the beautiful nymph Calypso, who held him captive for 7 years until his release was ordered by Zeus. Now, Malta claims to have an island where this happened. Miljet Island claims that they are actually the island and not the one off the coast of Malta. Now, there's actually a cave, Odysseus Cave, off the coast, where you can go also on a boat tour or just by yourself, like this guy here. He took out his little boat and he went out exploring. Otherwise, yes, this is a popular activity to do while on the island, to do a cave boat tour. Or you can go on a kayak tour. As you can see, the waters are absolutely amazing. And if you like kayaking, go for it. I mean, the water is not rough, it's not choppy, so it's a pleasant, very pleasant activity. Or if you would rather prefer to chill on the beach, my recommendation is to go to the Saplunara beach because it is one of the 2 things that this island is famous for. One is the national park, the second one is the beach. Now I'll tell you why. That's because it's one of the very rare sandy beaches in Croatia. It's the perfect spot for sunbathing, it's the perfect spot for swimming. And I have to tell you that in Croatia, sandy beaches are not a thing. So if you ever, for me, that was a good thing to find out because me being from Romania, I'm used to the Black Sea. The Black Sea has sandy beaches. And when you think of a beach, normally the first thing that comes to your mind, unless you are either born in Greece or Croatia, a sandy beach comes to mind. But in Croatia, that's not very common. And not only that, Croatians prefer rocky beaches, and they call, if you go down from a rocky area next to the water and you go straight into the water, they will put lounger chairs in there and still call it a beach. And they do not appreciate sandy beaches, actually. The common opinion is that sandy beaches, sand gets everywhere. It's really uncomfortable. And they do prefer rock beaches, pebblestone beaches, actually, because they're not big rocks, more like pebbles. And they prefer it and they have no issue on walking on those beaches. So, so yeah, something to be aware of, because when you see that, let's say a hotel that you're looking at or a destination says that, yes, we have beachfront, we have a beach in front of the hotel, it's not the sandy beach, it's not necessarily a sandy beach unless it's specify that, yes, this is a sandy beach. Do let me know in the comments if you knew that, or if this is a surprising thing for you. Because I know that the first time I've ever experienced it, it was a surprise. It was a surprise to me. And we are getting very close to the end of our itinerary, and we are going with the ferry through Dubrovnik. Now, Dubrovnik is, of course, the gem of the Dalmatian coast. Everyone wants to come to Dubrovnik, and rightly so. Dubrovnik is absolutely an amazing city. It has a beautiful old town. These walls that surround it are absolutely stunning from whichever part you look at. And the city has gained popularity through the Game of Thrones series that I've mentioned. If you haven't watched it, I strongly recommend it. And these walls are always in there. Like, you will see them a lot across the series. Back to our map, this is where we've reached. So from Miljet Island, we went down to Dubrovnik to spend 3 last nights in Kaftat. We are not going to spend the night in Dubrovnik. So my recommendation, if you're looking for more low-key, because we're talking about lesser known Croatia, if you still want to look for relaxation and to, as I said, during season, to step away from the hordes of tourists, because unfortunately Dubrovnik in season times, those walls and the old town can feel a little bit claustrophobic. I'm sorry, I do agree. It's a beautiful town. I strongly recommend you visit it, but don't go in the summer season, because it can, not in the full season, like July, August, it can ruin your experience. But if that's the only vacation time you have, that's not an issue, because you can choose to stay in Kaftat, which is a village very close to Dubrovnik. It's practically 30 minutes away, and it is 10 minutes away from the Dubrovnik airport. So this town is actually the perfect location to relax and to experience everything that Dubrovnik has to offer, because you can stay here. You can be surrounded by billionaires' yachts, which are more than the marina, very, very nice restaurants that are lining the seafront. And, don't feel overcrowded. Don't feel like you're suffocating. This town, Kaftat, actually dates back to ancient Greeks and Romans, just like most of the islands that we spoke about during this tour. And sorry, it is the perfect spot to visit the countryside that Dubrovnik has to offer, to go on a cooking class, or to actually go visit another country, because Dubrovnik or Dubrovnik area is perfect to visit a neighboring country. You can go to Mostar, you can go visit Montenegro, you can go visit Bosnia. So plenty of opportunities to do day trips from here. I will also show you one last video, which I hope, okay, yes, it's perfect. It's not blocked. So yeah, as you can see, it's a lovely coastal town. Nothing crazy about it. It's just for those that want to avoid the touristic crowds. So beautiful, crystal blue color water everywhere. And as you can see, and as I told you, this is a very exclusive location. So people that want to be in the active life of Dubrovnik and to be in the middle of the action in Dubrovnik, but not actually share the space with everyone else, stay here. Especially amongst the locals too. So for me, the most impressive thing about Croatia, about the Dalmatian coast of Croatia, is this difference that you see between the mountains. You are always a step away from the mountains and a step away from the sea. So I think that's the highlight. And it's the most important thing. All of the rest do come with preferences and are subjective, depending on your preferences, depending on what you like to experience during holiday. But yeah, nature is prevalent and it's beautiful all across. So do try to visit Croatia if you are able to. If not, I hope that this tour has given you a sneak peek into discovering more about Croatia, because this is just a sneak peek. There's a lot more to cover about this amazing country, and of course, a lot more to discover. I would say Croatia is the perfect spot for foodies everywhere. But not necessarily. Also for the people, not necessarily only that, also for the people that are looking for a more active destination. And if why not also just to enjoy and relax. So if you're ready, I am ready to start answering your question. Would be happy, Mara. Hi, you're still with us.
Yes, I am still with you. Thank you so much. Actually, as you know, I have a trip booked. I've never been to Croatia. I have a trip booked, and two of the things that I absolutely love are the blue seas. I can't wait to dive into some of them and just swim and explore. But I love to explore those caves and caverns, and I understand that Croatia has changed a lot in the last 10 years in terms of how many people visit it. But I hope to goodness that they'll save a little authenticity for our trip in middle to late September of next year. I think we'll be out of the summer months enough to experience it so well.
Yeah, September is great. September is a great month.
I'm hoping, and you know, we always say at the end of the summer, the water is warmer, so I'm hoping that it's a great time to explore. As everybody can see on the screen right now, there's a list of our upcoming tours, as well as ways to tip Georgiana. There's a link on my website. If all else fails, just go to my website. It says tip the tour director, and you could just go right there and leave a tip. You don't have to go now, because I know some people get in and out of Zoom and then they get confused on how to get back in. So just know you can do that later. I will also send a follow-up email tomorrow, which will have the links in it so that you can click directly on the link from the email. I just want to say to everybody, thank you so much for coming. I know Georgiana is going to plug away at the questions that are being asked right now, but I am going to head out and Georgiana is going to finish this off. Thank you again, Georgiana, and thank you to everybody else. And I'm going to hand it over to Georgiana to do the Q&A.
All right. I was actually going through the chat because I did ask about that polenta. And there was someone, I think I lost a comment right now, but someone was commenting that the family or someone was coming from Romania and they never wanted to have polenta ever again in their life, which I completely understand. So
Georgiana,
yeah,
just to jump in here, I just switched you to the host, so you can actually share your screen again. I know you have a Q&A slide on your screen too. Sorry, I didn't realize it was going to take away my screen.
Yes. Okay. This is the beginning of this is the same, just doesn't say Q&A, but I was at the polenta thing that they said that once they left the country, once they left Romania, they never wanted to eat polenta again. The polenta that we normally make is just corn flour with water and salt. And we have this big cauldron, not that big, I mean, like a cauldron where we mix everything together. We boil it until it becomes hard, and it's kind of shaped like, it's supposed to resemble bread technically, and you can actually cut it, but some people will also serve it soft. Okay, now I'll go through the Q&A questions. There's no picture now, there's a picture. I have visited Greece and I agree with you. Thank you so much. Yes, Croatia is the baby, the baby. Great tour so far. At some point, can you do a virtual tour of popular Croatia? I think that's something that you might want to suggest tomorrow. taking a group there in May for a cruise. That's very nice. How loud is the sea organ in real life? It's not very loud. It was quiet in the video because it's quiet in real life too. Not super quiet, of course, but it's nothing super loud because it really depends on how rough the sea is. If the waves are very calm, of course, the sounds are also very calm. If it's rougher, then the sounds will be louder. I also said maraschino, but you said maraschino. Yes, maraschino. Maraschino is the Italian way. Maraschino is the Croatian way. What movie? So I mentioned two movies. From Zadar, I mentioned the Vineyards movie, and from Trogir, I think I mentioned the Mamma Mia movie. Weather in Croatia, best time of the year. So season in Croatia is between May and September is the best. October is already considered off season, as well as April, but weather can still be good up until the end of October. Of course, the winds start to come in, and it is chillier during evening. So I would say May to September is the best time. Do citizens and tour guides typically speak English? Yes, if you are going to employ an English tour guide, yes, they will probably speak English. Citizens, I think it's different. All throughout Eastern Europe, if you're talking to older citizens, they will not speak that great English. But if you're talking to like 30, 40-year-olds, like younger generations, they will speak English. What is the busiest time when visiting Croatia? Yes, definitely August, because August is also holiday for all Europeans. So I would definitely suggest you stay away from August. Shoulder season, I would say May, September. But May, September is still not high season. It's still part of the actual season. So shoulder season is probably end of April, beginning of October. Can a strict vegan find food as a tourist in Croatia? Yes. Yes, you can, because they produce a lot of their own local produce. So yes. The sweet ravioli is not available on Google. It has to be, because that's where I found the photo too. And I also found, just say Croatian ravioli, and I'm sure you'll find the recipe for you. Can you repeat the name where Mamma Mia was filmed? Trogir. I think it was also written down in the itinerary. So you can rewatch Vara's recording and you can see the names on all the islands in there. What's the best transportation to take between islands? Ferry, public ferries, as they are the cheapest. And they're also very reliable. Is eating out expensive there? Yes. It depends on where you go. So it really depends on where you go. If you go on the popular islands of Croatia, it is expensive. If you go on the lesser known islands of Croatia, the food is more conveniently priced. And of course, it's better to try to eat where locals eat. Their restaurants are called konobas, with a K, Konobas. And those are kind of like the local taverns. How's the weather in late October for a holiday? Weather can be difficult late October. It's chillier, it's colder, it's windier, and not a lot of hotels are open late October. Most of the hotels will start closing in. Most of the activities will start closing in. So late October, maybe not. I would suggest going at the beginning of October or mid-October. Thank you. What's this Dalmatia that you made reference to so often? That is the whole coastal region of Croatia. So the coastal region of Croatia is called Dalmatia. Okay. Is it easy to communicate? Yes. Moderate. I'll be there from October 1st. Weather should be still very good. I wouldn't say necessarily perfect, but it should still be very good from October 1st. The crowds should die down a little bit, but you will still find crowds. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us. Are Airbnbs safe to stay here? Yes. They are, and also I strongly suggest apartments. Croatia is a very good location for apartments. Polenta is like cream of wheat. Yeah, sort of. It's like cream of corn, but it's actually harder than that. It's served as a side dish. Yeah, we would serve it as a replacement for bread because wheat was more expensive than corn, of course, and it was easier to produce and in larger quantities. So yeah, a lot of the people would eat polenta because they didn't have money for bread. The food is outstanding too. Yes, Italian polenta. Yes, Italian polenta, they will add some milk, but adding milk to your polenta, that means you're already wealthy. So, I mean, not necessarily you're already wealthy, but in the countryside, it's specifically in Eastern European countryside, and I'm talking mostly about Romania here, and I think also for Croatia, it's not common to add milk to your polenta. You would only do it with water. What you can add to your polenta is cheese or sour cream and maybe a fried egg, and you can make it a meal. That's actually a very popular meal with shepherds. Is the polenta white or yellow? It's yellow. What is the sea life in the seas? Sharks? I know for a fact they don't have any dangerous sharks. They might have some species of sharks, but nothing dangerous. So all the regular Mediterranean type sea life. Dolphins as well. Not sharks, dolphins. Love this tour. We have been to Croatia. My husband's family is from there. You're extremely knowledgeable and we enjoyed your tour. Thank you so much. Your comments do make me want to do virtual tours in the future and to keep doing these virtual tours. Are there snorkeling or diving opportunities? Yes, there are plenty of snorkeling. Everywhere you see water, there's a snorkeling opportunity. Diving opportunities, you would have to just check with local dive shops, but I would say that all across the places that I've mentioned should be possible. Is it possible for foreign to find a job in this country? Yeah, I think so. How much would a person budget per day? That's very tough because it really depends on that person's interest and what they want to go for. Like, are they interested in doing wine tastings? Are they interested in eating seafood? Are they interested in local? So like really depends. So budget per day, does it include meals and activities? Does it include hotels? It can range from 200, like if I were to include food activities and hotels, it could range from $200 if you include private tours. If you include group tours, maybe 100, 150. Going up to 200, 300, 400, 500, really. It depends on your choices. What's the best time to visit, meaning not too crowded, but good weather? May, September. How much is the price of the trip? Again, depends on which base you price it on. Like you could go for 3-star hotels, for apartments, for 5-star hotels, for private activities, or for group activities. So really, it's a range. What is the most popular destination in Croatia? So it's Dubrovnik, yes. Split, Var, and yeah, I think these are the most popular destinations that everyone has heard of. Are meat dishes popular in Dubrovnik? Yes, meat is found in recipes all across the Croatian cuisine. I wouldn't necessarily say that they are popular against other types of dishes. Seafood, you'll find a lot of seafoods too. If I wanted to design my own trip, can you suggest how you go about it? A lot of Google research. Yeah, be aware that many ferries stop regular services usually after September 15th. Yes, they will stop. You won't have as many hours a day when the ferry travels. That's true. Best way to find a day tour guide. There are plenty of resources online which can help you in that direction. My suggestion would be to always check reviews or to try to get a recommendation. Okay, what is the currency in Croatia? Croatia has recently turned to the euro, which is not great for the pricing on items. for the moment. It's always an adjustment period with European countries when they turn from their local currency to the euro currency. The first year is a little bit tougher. But yeah, from now on, like if you travel to Croatia, you can bring euros, or you don't necessarily need to bring euros from the States. You can always exchange them upon arrival here. I think these are their hostels. There's another question. Yes, there are hostels. So I think these are all the questions. If you have any other questions for me, feel free to send an email to Mara, and she forwards all of these emails to me. Like if you have a question, if you have more detailed questions, I'll be happy to answer them in an email too. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much for participating into this virtual tour. It's always a pleasure for me to do them. And I hope to see you again sometime in the future.